Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Am I audible to everyone? Okay, do they have right to unmute themselves? Am I the co-host? Okay, good. Thank you all for joining in. Our the camera system just restarted. So I thought in the meantime, I'll sign in. Have you spotlighted something? No, don't spotlight. I just want to see everyone. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So can I see you all are there? Because it's going to take 2-3 minutes of time. So I thought we all can interact in the meantime. Which connection? Which LAN?
All the Wi-Fi that they are discussing.
I can disable that. Hare Krishna. 1 second. Yes. So yes, Hare Krishna. So who all do we have here? I'm just trying to interact with all of you till the time our system reboots. I had taken a kind of a vow that final session will start in time. So everyone has a plan. I also had a plan. Ultimately, Krishna has his own way. Last minute, when I was about to start, right at 6 o'clock, the system kind of semi-crashed. So devotees are restarting their system so we can start the presentations. So thought I'll just interact with all of you. And in the meantime, before we begin, if anyone has any questions or anything, we can discuss at least till that time. You have right to unmute yourself, so we can just interact for a few minutes. Anyways, we are on the last session of our Gita Essence program today, and we'll see what will continue after this Gita Essence program. And tomorrow we have a special guest, His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, who will be addressing all the audience of this Gita Essence program with a very interesting topic. Do your best, leave the rest. So before we begin, till the time our devotee starts the system, any questions from this session we can discuss. Anyways, the agenda of today's topic was also to take question answers.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Sudhirji, Hare Krishna.
When will start our temple visits? When will
Oh,
we
that
able to
I
visit
guess
temples?
that goes to the government of Maharashtra. I have no updates on that.
Okay.
Yeah, if somebody has any question related to Bhagavad Gita, I can take that. I'm not sure about what's happening around much.
We are missing temple destinations.
Yes. There are.
Yeah, Mataji, speak.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, I thought if you had the time, can we look at the quiz questions?
Whatever, till the time system starts, we have the time.
Okay, excellent.
Whatever question has to be discussed, we can discuss that.
All right. So just give me 1 second. I'll just open up those questions.
Yes. In the meantime, you are putting out your questions. Anyone else have anything to share or discuss? Or any thoughts on how had been your Gita Essence study? How had been this program? Was it helpful or not?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Feedback at the end of the program. I'm taking it before in case we are short of time at the end. Yes, Anushri.
Yes, Prabhuji. So I would like to thank you and the entire team for driving this through the Bhagavad Gita sessions. It was really lovely journey. I was able to manage reading all the chapters because of the sessions that you have taken for all the weekend classes. Thanks to you and all the team who has, done such a wonderful service. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there had been a big effort. A lot of devotees had been involved in creating this facility for all the students, from drafting quiz papers to checking the papers and enabling these videos and everything. But I'm glad you read whole of Bhagavad Gita. You read more than I read. So I'm happy to know that you could read whole of Bhagavad Gita. Great. Now that's inspiring. That I should also have read the whole of Bhagavad Gita while talking to all of you. Of course, I have read before, not like that. Anushri, you got muted for somehow.
Sorry.
by yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji. So please convey my regards to all the team who has been working so hard from
Yeah, they
technical
all are here.
issues to
They all are here
video.
now.
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhuji. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So those who have just joined, we have not concluded our session. Our system restarted. So that's the reason we are interacting for the timing. All right. Okay. Anything else?
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Yes, Dinesh ji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, मैं दिनेश जयपुर से बोल रहा हूँ। प्रभु जी, सबसे पहले आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपने हमें पूरा गीता का जो है भगवान की देववाणी से अभिभूत कराया। पूरे चैप्टर 1 से लेकर चैप्टर 17-18 तक करा देंगे अभी आप। मेरा आपसे इतना गुजारिश है कि आप हिंदी लैंग्वेज में भी ऐसा कोर्स कराने का कोई रखते हैं प्लान इन फ्यूचर?
अगर आपकी इच्छा है तो मेरी भी एक इच्छा है, मैं हिंदी में करने को तैयार हूँ। आपको लोगों को मैसेज भेजना पड़ेगा कि हिंदी के प्रोग्राम अटेंड करने के लिए आइए, क्योंकि माय ऑडियंस बेस राइट इन हिंजवाड़ी जनरली टू whom I speak to, they generally is all English speaking audience. तो मैं, if I take out this whole 18 days time or whatever, it's better that there is some audience, and I generally don't do Hindi programs, so we will announce for sure. So my request to all of you, when you get the request, please forward it to your friends.
ओके प्रभु, मैं मेरा पूरा प्रयास करूंगा मैक्सिमम जोड़ने का। वैसे मैं राजस्थान से आता हूँ, तो हमारे राजस्थान में मैक्सिमम हिंदी भाषी ऑडियंस है।
Yeah, that's the advantage of online. Now it doesn't matter Rajasthan, Pune, anywhere. So that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to commit my time for Hindi program, which I would be doing for the first time for Bhagavad Gita. But it'll be nice if all of you also share that message ahead to your friends and family, and we have some audience to speak to, like that. Okay, Dinesh ji?
थैंक यू प्रभु, थैंक यू। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु।
That was. So after this, on the occasion of Gita Jayanti, which is on 25th December, from 21st November to 25th December, we are starting a 1 month long Bhagavad Gita program in Hindi. So Dinesh ji, aapki khushi ke liye. So the program would be in 2 parts. The first part would be a thematic 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita, which is a kind of a foundational course on spirituality, where we'll introduce the key aspects of Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll do this whole Bhagavad Gita that we did in English, जो आपके संग English में करा है 21 sessions का, that will do it in Hindi. So that program would run every single day starting from 21st of November until 25th of December. So my plan is to conclude Bhagavad Gita on Gita Jayanti day. To mark it as a very auspicious, so that's our target. So we'll try to do that. Probably in next week you'll get to hear more about that program. But this will be in Hindi now, because we already did in English. So that will happen in Hindi.
ओके, थैंक यू प्रभु जी, थैंक यू। हरे कृष्णा।
Thank
हरे
you.
कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Yes, Harshad ji.
प्रभु जी, हमें ऐसा लगता है कि श्रीमद् भागवतम का भी ऐसा ही एक आप कोर्स कंडक्ट करें।
Yes, thank you. That input is also taken. Right now, every morning from 8 to 9, I'm already doing Srimad Bhagavatam overview in Hindi.
Okay.
And after Gita Jayanti, from January 1st, 2021, from January 1st, we'll start Srimad Bhagavatam overview in English. Okay. You have the opportunity. Now, only thing is I cannot commit because if the travels open, already we are traveling now, but if travel opens, so then I would not be having a everyday. We'll have it weekend program, Saturday, Sunday, Bhagavatam overview. That will be in English, but Hindi is going on right now, every morning, 8 to 9. And I guess our team is enabling the recordings. The recordings are available on the YouTube channel for everyday session of Bhagavatam.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Where are you from, Arshil?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I'm from Pune. I'm from Pune.
Where in Pune, Harshal?
NIBM, just near NVCC.
Oh, yeah, NIBM. Yes, I know
Yes.
that. Okay, good, Harshal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I am Preetam here. I attended your entire session of 18 chapters, and I am located in New Jersey, and I could hear your all the sessions sitting here at home during this difficult time. And we had a ISKCON temple nearby, and I had bought this book last year, Bhagavad Gita book from the temple. But anyway, I could not understand too much from the book. But after attending the session, I was very inspired to read the book, and I could get a spiritual guru, and I could understand it much better. Even the quiz part is you can understand more better when you solve the quizzes. So I would like to thank you and your entire team for arranging this Gita Essence program. And with the help of a guru only, this Bhagavad Gita can be understood in a easier way. And your examples and your way of explaining everything was really excellent. And I could not stop myself from excluding any of the sessions. Somehow I managed the time with the India time, and I attended all the classes. Even my daughter had attended your Mahabharat classes earlier in her summer break, and
Okay.
from that our journey started with ISKCON, and I'm really very happy with the way the classes are conducted, especially during this
Green
time
background.
when it was very hard for Corona time is very hard to have face it, especially when you are in out of your homeland. And I really thank you for this program, which inspired us and which kept us motivated, which gave us internal strength to pass this journey by. So I will really thankful to you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I remember seeing your quizzes, solving all the quizzes. So thank you so much. Happy we got connected through Mahabharat program and Bhagavad Gita. My journey also in Krishna consciousness started from America. Just your neighboring state, Ohio. Not a neighboring state. There are one or two states comes between New Jersey and Ohio. West Virginia comes, and then I guess Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, whatever they come. So yeah, I also started my journey of studying Bhagavad Gita back in America. So good, thank you. Thank you for those comments. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So can we start now? Okay. So just give me a quick second. Looks like our system is turning back to power now. One quick second.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Are you able to hear me?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Okay, so sorry, Prabhuji, I think it's not the right time to ask the quiz questions. Maybe I'll, after hearing from all of these wonderful devotees, I think, we can definitely take this later. So I would also like to express my gratitude. I think I've been the most troublesome student or troubled your team the most. So, I would like to sincerely thank, I've already done to Vishwakiran Prabhu and Abhishek Prabhu and Prachi Mataji and your entire team. Sorry for being a very troublesome student. The sessions have been very, very, very helpful. And I'm really very, very grateful to you and to your entire team for putting up with me, tolerating me, and guiding me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I would ask my team if anyone told you are troublesome. At least I did tell you. All right. Okay. So Hare Krishna. Some more minutes.
We can start another 9.
Okay. So. Yes. So thank you all for joining. You put the reminder. Thank you all for joining, and excuse us for the delay. I guess it's good some delay happened. We could interact with all of us. Otherwise, by the time session ends, some of you have to leave by 7 o'clock. So we'll start our concluding session on Gita Essence. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashyatadi Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we welcome you all to this, the final and the concluding session of Gita Essence program. We couldn't complete the 18th chapter last time, and I didn't hurry up through it because it's a very important chapter. So we kind of divided that in two parts. So last time we discussed, I believe, up to the 39th verse, and today we'll begin our discussion from the 40th verse onward. So I hope all of you are able to see the slide deck. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so slide deck is visible. Great, thank you. So chapter 18, title is Perfection of Renunciation. And as we discussed last time, actually Bhagavad Gita had concluded at chapter 17. However, Lord Shri Krishna wanted to re-emphasize and sum up the discussion. Just like any and every good teacher, when he speaks, when he concludes his speaking, then he gives a summary just to ensure the student have understood the most important points. Similarly, Lord Shri Krishna does that way of summary telling, where Lord Shri Krishna summarizes the whole of Bhagavad Gita by putting forward the key essential messages or the points. Like Bhagavad Gita speaks about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and also one of the most important subject matter, the modes of material nature, how every living entity is conditioned by the modes. Therefore, in this chapter, Lord Shri Krishna again establishes or again speaks about the importance of practice of Karma Yoga, and how when somebody practices Karma Yoga, how he can graduate to the next stage of Jnana Yoga, and through that he can attain to the Brahma Bhuta stage or the Brahman realization. However, to understand Krishna and to go back to Godhead, what one needs to do is to practice Bhakti Yoga. And that is how Lord Shri Krishna speaks about it in every single chapter. And here, very emphatically, Lord Shri Krishna concludes the chapter 18 with the importance of practicing Bhakti Yoga. And also in this chapter, Krishna speaks about the influences of modes of material nature. So as we saw last time, this is an acronym where S stands for summary of Karma Yoga. We had discussed this section in detail. So here in this very first section, Lord Shri Krishna begins to answer the most commonly asked question of Bhagavad Gita. The FAQ, the frequently asked question in Bhagavad Gita is, what is better, renunciation or work? Here in this context, Lord Shri Krishna begins to speak about what is renunciation or what is sannyas or what is tyag, and the importance of work like that. In other words, the person may think that working in this world could be, it may attract karmic reaction and implicate one in the web of worldly complexity. So is it not safer to give up work and to take to the path of renunciation? However, Krishna once again disagrees with this idea, and he reiterates that there is nothing wrong with the activity as per se, but what is wrong with is our consciousness, with our purpose of work, with our intention with which we perform work. If we perform work with a strong attachment to the results, and I guess all of us would agree, whatever we do in our life, the very first thing we ask is, what is in for me? What will I get out of it? So Krishna says we have to become detached from this idea. What's in for me? Stop thinking about the result. Do your work as a duty. And in true sense, this is said to be renunciation. Giving up work is not important, but giving up the desires to enjoy the results of the work is true renunciation. So the root of entanglement for a living entity is the false ego with which he performs the activity and consider himself to be the doer, controller, proprietor, and enjoyer. And therefore, in this section, from verse number 1 to 18, Lord Shri Krishna also speaks about the subject matter of 5 causes. Arjuna began to think, my dear Lord, how can one not be attached to the results because he's a doer? The attachment is bound to happen. Krishna says, wait a second. Who told you you are the doer? You're not the doer. You're only 1/5 of the doer. Adhishtanam, Karta, Karanam, Cheshta, and Devata or Ishta. In other words, these are the 5 factors. When they combine together like that, an activity is performed. Cheshta means endeavor. Adhisthana means the body. Karta means the Atma or Jiva that can only desire. Karana means the senses. And Devata or Daiva means divine. Devata, which means also destiny. So Krishna says you're only 1/5 of the doer of your activity. 4/5 are dependent on other factors. So you're not the doer, first of all. So since we are only 1/5 of the actual cause of an action, we should never have an overvalued estimation of ourselves. Therefore, if you work in the spirit of detachment, offering the results of our work or labor, Hare Krishna. Is my computer getting hanged now? Anyways, so thus working in the spirit of detachment and dedicating the results of our work to Krishna is what purifies one's consciousness and paves the way for success in one's life. Next section, which we discussed last time, is M. M stands for modes of material nature, where once again Lord Shri Krishna says that everything around us, even if in our current state, we just reflect on everything within ourselves and also around us, we'll see that everything is being controlled and dictated by things or by identity which is beyond our purview. We are like a puppet in the hands of the puppeteer who are acting according to the change of times, according to the change of situations, and in different times and situation, we act and we behave. Oh, 1 second. Is that all right? Okay, something will suddenly happen on my laptop. Anyways, so what was I saying? Yeah. So Krishna pins down this to the modes of material nature, and in this section, Krishna speaks about our happiness being influenced by the modes, our knowledge, our action, the performer, our understanding, our determination, everything is influenced by the modes of material nature. In other words, in essence, let me summarize the subject matter. The person who is in mode of goodness, his activity, his life is always about harmonizing or doing constructive activity. I'll say that again. Person who has a predominance of mode of goodness, all his activities, all his life, his happiness, his determination, his understanding, knowledge, and whatnot, is always aimed at producing a constructive work and harmonizing it. What about somebody who is in mode of passion? For a person who is in mode of passion, it could be a constructive, it could be destructive, depending on who is guiding that person. If that person is guided by his own mind and senses, it would aim at destructive activities. However, if that person is directed by scriptures, because mode of goodness person is generally who follows religious principles and directed or guided by scriptures. If similarly for mode of passion person, if is guided by scriptures, if he follows scripture or a guru, first of all, he will gradually become purified of mode of passion, come to Satvaguna. And even if he's acting in mode of passion, his actions would be constructive, not destructive. Whereas for mode of ignorance, person who has a predominance of mode of ignorance, he's self-abusive and he's destructive to everyone. He or she, whoever the person is self-abusive and destructive to everyone. Misery is happiness. Darkness is a ray of hope. And this person always lives in despondency. Like this, the subject matter we have discussed. And now we'll continue our discussion on the remaining verses of the 18th chapter. Wherein now Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, what is the solution? Which means we are expected to be aloof and detached from the fruit of our result. We are supposed to be a detached worker. But in reality, we all are conditioned by the modes of material nature. We are influenced by the modes of material nature. which implicates us in the karmic life. So we are already under the influence of the modes of material nature, yet you are asking us to be detached. How is it possible? Because the life is not in our control. We don't control our mood. Our consciousness is getting affected by the influence of the modes of material nature. So what can I do? How can I set myself free from the influence of the modes of material nature so that I can follow your instructions, so that I become detached from my work and from the result? So therefore, Lord Shri Krishna now begins to speak from verse number 41 to verse number 45, where I stands for ideal worker. Here, Krishna explains one of my favorite subject, I would say in that sense, but very, very important subject called as Varnashram Dharma, where Krishna explains that one engages the inherent nature in different types of work. And there are four Varnas. We're not going to focus on ashram, but the four Varnas are being described. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Brahmana are referred to an intelligent class. Kshatriya refers to an administrator. Vaishya refers to mercantile or business class, where Shudra refers to a labor class, one who likes to, labor class. What else can we say about it? So, in essence, in this particular section from verse number 41 to 45, Krishna introduces his four classes, and then he talks about that one should not artificially imitate someone else's occupational duty. This occupational duty is this nature based on our guna and karma, based on our past life activities and the conditionings which we have acquired in this life, in this world, because of our association. So everyone should work according to one's inclination. If somebody have Brahminical inclination, he should be Brahminical. He should be called as a Brahmana, despite of his birth or despite of his faith. Like that, Krishna says, if one acts according to his inclination, falling into this four category, then the work purifies. How can work purifies if I work according to the inclination, according to my liking? We'll see that in this section. So let's take a look of the divisions of Varna. Text number 41. I'll read out the verses here. I've not included the verses, but I'll just read out. Text number 42, where Krishna speaks about the nature of Brahmanas. Shamodamastapah socham shantirarjavamevacha Jnanam Vijnanamastikam Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. Swabhavajam is born of his own nature. So, what are the qualities of a Brahmana? It does not matter what is his faith, it does not matter if he is born in what and which family. What matters is what are his gunas, what are his inclination, what is his lifestyle, what is his nature of his mind, and it's being described here. Who is a Brahmana? Symptoms are given. He is peaceful, self-controlled, austere, tolerant, honest, wise, and religious, and also forgiving. One of the attributes of a Brahmana. What about Kshatriya? Text number 43. Shauryam tejo dhritir dakshyam yudhachapi apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha Shatram karma swabhavajam. Shauryam, valor, heroism. Tejaha means power. Dhritir means determined. Daksha means expert in managing. Apalayanam, Yudhe chapi apalayanam, he never shows his back in a war, never runs away. Danam, charitable. Ishvara bhava, leadership. He has a leadership quality. And Shatram karma swabhavajam, and these are the symptoms of a Kshatriya. What about Vaishya and Shudra? Text number 44. Rishi Gorakshya Vanityam Vaishya Karma Sabhavajam. Rishi Gorakshya. Rishi means agriculture, plowing. Go means Goraksha means taking care of the cows. Vanityam refers to trade or business. These are the symptoms or the attributes of Vaishya. What about Shudra? The last line of 44 verse. Paricharyatmakam karma Shudrasyapi swabhavajam. Paricharyatmakam, which means those who are into labor class, those who like to, they cannot act independently. They like to be dictated. They like to be told If they are told, then they would do their duty, otherwise not. That refers to Shudra in essence. And then text number 45, Krishna speaks something very interesting. Krishna says, Sve sve karmani abhirataha samsiddhim labate naraha swakarmani rata siddhim yatha vindati tashrunum. Krishna says, Sve sve karmani abhirataha. Please do not get into inferior or superior complexity. Don't think Brahmanas to be the highest order and Shudra to be the lowest order. Krishna says, no. You have to act according to your inherent nature. If this is your predisposition, act like that, because in Varnashram Dharma, there is nothing superior and inferior. In fact, Varnashram Dharma, earlier, the duty of a king was to establish Varnashram Dharma, which means he had to see that everyone is engaged according to their nature. And Krishna says, by following the qualities of work, every man can become perfect. And Krishna says, now please hear from me how this can be done. And then Krishna explains in the next verse how a person can become purified by performing his work. So first of all, I just want to pause here and I want to reflect on the point why Krishna emphasizes and speaks about one should engage according to his own nature. Two things. One, if a person is engaged according to his own nature and inclination, tell me yes or no. You have a Zoom, so say yes or no if you agree or not. Person who is engaged according to his nature would be self-inspired. And somebody who is self-inspired performs his duty responsibly, yes or no? Which means he does a constructive work, which means he does some good thing for the society. So self-inspired. Second thing, the person would not be frustrated. His mind will not be agitated if he gets to do something which he likes to do. He will not complain about the job is bad, life is bad, everything is horrible. Now, how it relates to the purification of the person? Imagine if you are a person performing your duty which you like to do. You're not frustrated about it, you're self-inspired about it. For such a person who's already in a happy state of mind, such a person can perform devotional service with far much more attention and enthusiasm. How would you sit and chant the names of the Lord if somebody, for example, if there is a hungry person, there's a beggar on the street who has not eaten anything because of which he is so disturbed, and then you tell him, go and chant Hare Krishna, everything would be taken care. That person would not be able to chant because he's hungry. He's disturbed. Similarly, whose minds are so disturbed, how can they take to spiritual life? And that's the reason when you go out today and talk to people, study Bhagavad Gita, everyone says, time nahi hai. Prabhu, marne ka samay nahi hai. You are talking about reading Bhagavad Gita? They would spend their time for anything and everything, but not spiritual life because they think this is not the important thing. Whereas Krishna says, this ought to be the most important thing. The study of Bhagavad Gita is ought to be most important thing because it can tell you who you are and what is your nature. So here I'll request our host to share a poll. So in essence, briefly, we discussed about the four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So I would like to see, or I'd like to ask, how many of you know what is your varna? So I'll ask the host to share. What is not working? How? Oh, the poll is not working. Okay, I don't know what's the issue. Okay, fine. So I'll tell you, you can write on your answer. So what is your varna? What is your, occupational duty that you think you should be engaged into? If you think you are a Brahmana, say Brahmana. If you think you are a Kshatriya, say Kshatriya. If you think you are a Vaishya, say Vaishya. If you think Shudra, say Shudra. And if you think none of the above could also be the answer, or the sixth option is, I am not sure. I'm totally confused. I don't know what do I want, what varna is of mine. You can write onto the chat and I can take a look at it later on. So let's continue ahead. So Krishna says, when you engage yourself into performing an occupational duty like this, then you get purified. Why? Krishna says, first, man is engaged in his occupational duty according to his nature. That brings him satisfaction. Second, now perform karma yoga, wherein you utilize the work and the result of your work in the service of the Lord. In other words, Krishna again speaks of the karma yoga. What is the importance of it? And what is the importance of Varnashram Dharma? Let me give you a small example. Just like the hand takes a food, puts it into the mouth, the teeth chews it, and the throat swallows it, and then it goes into the belly. Before the hand gets the food, our feet takes us to the place where our hand can collect the food. So if you see different parts of the body, even before we walk, our eyes sees the food, and then we walk towards the food. So if you see different parts of the body are involved in feeding the food to the belly, and then by belly or the stomach digest, and what it does, it gives back energy to the rest of the body. Similarly, varnashram dharma is defined in such a way so that every individual acts according to his nature or her nature, and that way contribute back for the social harmony. If imagine if all the people in the world are Shudra, labor class, then what will happen? Who will be the boss? The boss would also be a Shudra. If the boss is Shudra, the employee is also Shudra, the employer is Shudra, then it leads to destruction. Because being a Shudra is not bad. But one of the nature of a Shudra is also that he cannot be independent. If a Shudra is independent, then he would misuse that independence. And Shudra, that's the reason they're not qualified to study Vedic scriptures, because they cannot understand Vedic scripture, because they have a lot of desires for sense gratification. So it acts to social harmony. Now Krishna says in verse number 46 that you work for me. Why? Just like all the different limbs of the body feeds to the stomach, and the stomach provides the energy for the rest of the body. Similarly, when we serve Krishna, in this whole universal structure, Krishna acts like a stomach. Where when we serve Krishna, when we offer the result of a work to Krishna, then Krishna sustains and provides everything. Krishna is not dependent on us. It should not think that Krishna is dependent on us. But through this means, we get purified. Now, who has given us everything? Who has given us the gifts of the nature? Who has given us the ability to think? You know, a child is born, one child is born with a great IQ, another child is born with a poor IQ. Another child is born with a fair complexion, whereas the other child is born with a dark complexion. Parents don't decide that. So there is some higher power who decides, and that is the point. So we should understand that we are always subordinate to the Lord. And if we serve the Lord, follow the religious course given by the Lord, then it helps us to become purified. And that is what Krishna says in verse number 46, from 45th to 48. So one should be thinking, oh, the Lord has engaged me in the particular occupation, thus I should use the fruit of this work for his satisfaction. In conclusion, all work is controlled by the modes, yet one can become free from the reactions of the work by acting according to one's own occupational inclination and performing Nishkam Karma Yoga. So if somebody performs Nishkam Karma Yoga, then that is a means of becoming freed from the modes of material nature. Now, some of us may wonder, Prabhu, I don't know what's my Varna. And of course, the occupation I'm engaged in is not the right occupation according to my nature. What should I do? Still, whatever it is, engaged in Karma Yoga. We should not wait to identify what my Varna is. Srila Prabhupada would say, make the best use of the bad bargain. So whatever is given to us, utilize that, make it or dovetail it into Karma Yoga, so the process of purification begins. So worshipping the Lord through our work elevates us in knowledge. Now Krishna will describe us the further steps of the yoga ladder, which means the Jnana Yoga. From verse number 49 to 55, so Karma Yoga, the practice of Karma Yoga purifies one of their desires, where a person becomes gradually detached from the work as well as from the results of the work, because he's serving the Lord. Now one's mind becomes a little more peaceful, less distracted, and now he can engage his mind in meditation, not meditation primarily, in studying of the scriptures. And that is what Krishna speaks about, the path of Jnana Yoga. And here Krishna describes the process of Jnana Yoga once again, which he has already elaborated before. And Krishna says, the process of Jnana Yoga means to purify oneself through intelligence, which means by contemplating on the subject of the scriptures. Generally, path of Jnana Yoga means taking to renunciation, going to the forest and dedicating one's time, life, and energy in scriptural study. So Krishna says, what are the process? What are the steps? Controlling the mind, purified by intelligence, giving up sense object. And like this, different points are given, and we have discussed in the past also. This is not doable. It's very difficult to practice Jnana Yoga. The practice of Karma Yoga is far simpler. And if we come under the association of a bona fide guru, the one who is expert in the science of Krishna consciousness, then that person can elevate us directly from Karma Yoga to Bhakti Yoga through the instructions, and by teaching us, by giving us a lifestyle, even in our condition which is centered around Krishna, where our activities immediately gets transformed into Bhakti Yoga. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's the teachings, the revolutionary teachings of Srila Prabhupada, I would say, is that the Srila Prabhupada gave us a lifestyle centered around Bhakti Yoga, the lifestyle which forced us to rise to the level of Bhakti Yoga. Srila Prabhupada told all his students to chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, daily worship the deity of the Lord. Anything that you eat, of course, Pattaram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, vegetarian diet, should be first offered to the Lord, and then you take it. Like that, when we engage ourselves, and of course, those who are working should contribute some of their results or their earnings in the service of the Lord. Like that, person immediately becomes engaged in the direct devotional service of the Lord. And that is why Srila Prabhupada, in such a short span of time, was able to bring about an incredible change in the consciousness of people all around the world. And it continues even up to today, even in the absence of physical presence of Prabhupada, because his disciples have continued to propagate the same message. And therefore, you can see this Krishna conscious movement is growing in leaps and bounds. When Srila Prabhupada was here on this planet, within 12 years, he opened 108 temples. And after Srila Prabhupada's departure, his disciples, continuing on to the legacy that Prabhupada left behind, have created more than 700 temples. And the number continues. If it was not for lockdown, the trend in India had become to such an extent that every month there was one temple open in some part of India. If it was not for lockdown, the trend would have continued. But now the trend have changed for us. Rather than opening temples wherever we are sitting there and interacting with the global audience. Anyways, the preaching of Krishna consciousness continues. So finally, Krishna speaks about when a person practices Jnana Yoga in such a way, then he reaches a Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Bhuta stage, what are the features? The three features. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, fully joyful. Na sochati, never laments or desires. Na kankshati, na sochati, na kankshati. What is this? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na sochati, na kankshati. Sabha sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. Then such a person, after reaching to the Brahman platform, this has three features like this: fully joyful, na sochati, na kankshati, and sama sarveshu bhuteshu, equally disposed towards all living entity. Then such a person can attain to a pure devotional service unto me. Then Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, what happens after attaining to bhakti or devotion unto you? And Krishna says two things happens. First, such a person who engages in bhakti knows me as I am. And second, he attains to my eternal abode. Very, very important verse, 18th chapter, 55. All of you please repeat. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato jnanatva vishate tad anantaram. Krishna says two things happens. What? One can understand me who I am. And second, he attains to my eternal abode. So Srila Prabhupada writes something very beautiful in the purport. And he says, what is the mystery of bhakti? Prabhupada says, no one can understand Krishna simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness can attain to devotional service and understand who Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful for this matter. So what is important is to find a bona fide guru and study or hear Bhagavad Gita from him and follow the lifestyle given by him or the teachings as given in Bhagavad Gita is what takes us or gives us success in spiritual life. So do a quick recap of the section. So here Krishna first spoke about what we have discussed so far. Krishna first spoke about elevation through karma yoga, and now he just spoke about jnana yoga. And through this, a yogi can advance to the platform of bhakti yogi or bhakti yoga. Now, from this particular section, the verse which we're going to start now, from verse number 56 to verse number 66, Krishna would directly speak about the glories of bhakti, love of God, you can say, 56 to verse number 66. And Krishna says, those who work according to my direction, those who work under my protection. In other words, Krishna says, I personally protect my devotees from all reactions and lead them directly to my supreme abode. Srila Prabhupada writes, one should follow the order of the Lord. Somebody may wonder, how to work under Krishna's direction? Because Krishna says in verse number 56 and 57, one who follows my instructions, I protect him. So somebody may wonder, how do I know what Krishna wants? How do I understand this instruction that Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita? Because Krishna spoke to Arjuna. His scenario was different. My scenario is different. Then Prabhupada writes, how do we understand? One should follow the order of the Lord. How? Which means through the direction of Krishna's representative, Guru, and through the words of Krishna. It's very interesting to note, therefore, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita himself said, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya. Go and approach a bona fide Guru, serve him, inquire from him. He knows Tattva Darshina, he's Tattva Darshi, he has seen the truth, and he can give you the truth. So even in Krishna's absence, physical absence, the living entities of this world can get spiritual guidance by taking shelter of the bona fide representative. Then Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, what if somebody says, hell with all this thing. I don't want to follow Krishna. I don't want to follow the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. I'll do what I want to do. Krishna says, Arjuna, everyone has to make this inner choice. And what is inner choice? To serve Krishna or to turn away from Krishna. And Krishna describes about in verse number 58 to verse number 60. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's main dilemma was whether to fight or not. But here Krishna explains that Arjuna will fight anyway. What does it mean? We may say that we don't want to do this service or we don't want to act according to the Lord's instruction. I want to do whatever I want to do, or I want to renounce. Krishna says, Arjuna, in your context, you don't want to follow my instruction? Fine. But what will happen if you don't do? You would still be forced to act. 58th verse. If you take my shelter, you follow what I say, you'll pass all obstacles. Otherwise, you'll be bound in the results of karmic reactions. Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. And according to nature, you're bound to fight. You're bound to defend the right of a living entity. And even if you try to abandon, the modes will force you to do it. Which means, Arjuna, if you go to the forest thinking that I'll renounce, I don't want to follow the instruction of the Lord, I take to the path of renunciation. Arjuna, if somebody would challenge you in the forest, you will pick up the weapon because that's what your nature. Or if you would see any other living entity in danger, you will pick up the weapon because you are a Kshatriya. Just like Karna was son of Kunti, was a Kshatriya. Now when he went to Parshuram, he told Parshuram that I'm a son of a Brahmana. Well, he didn't say Brahmana precisely, or maybe he said Brahmana, but he didn't told Parshuram that he's not a son of Kshatriya. So you remember that famous incident where an earthworm or some worm had entered into the thigh of Karna, where Parshuram had put his head and he was taking rest. Although Karna's thigh or the leg was getting pierced by that insect or the worm, Karna still tolerated. Now the Brahmana cannot tolerate like that. Of course, he has a tolerance to austerities, he can perform austerity. But this kind of a prowess, where your body is pierced like Bhishma, Kshatriya, his body is pierced. Yet, similarly during the war, so many soldiers, warriors, their body was pierced. Still they're fighting like Abhimanyu. They continue to fight. So Kshatriya has that far greater ability to tolerate the bodily pain according to the guna and karma that is acquired. So Karna was able to tolerate, and the blood began to ooze out from his leg. And when Parshuram saw the spill of the blood on the ground, Parshuram got up and he turned around and he saw, oh, the leg of Karna is pierced because of a worm. And Parshuram said, hey, Karna, why didn't you woke me up? Karna said, my dear Gurudev, I didn't want to disturb your sleep. And then Parshuram realized, this cannot be a Brahmana. This cannot be Vaishya or anyone else. This is only possible if he is a son of Kshatriya. And that's the time Parshuram cursed him. Like that, similarly, here Krishna is saying, you will be forced to act according to your guna and karma. You cannot. If you do not follow my orders, you will follow the orders of what? Modes of material nature, like puppet. Therefore, Krishna says, Arjuna, it is very important for you to follow my instructions. And through Arjuna, Krishna is trying to tell all of us is to take shelter of the Lord and to follow his orders. Therefore, Krishna ahead says, Arjuna, surrender. Surrender to the Lord or surrender to the Super Soul in verse number 61 to 63. Krishna says, Arjuna, I am the director. Ishvara, very important verse, please repeat. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshi arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra raudhani mayaya. Krishna says, I reside in the heart of every living entity. Krishna is repeating that he already said in the 15th chapter, 15th verse. And I direct the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. It's just like somebody is operating a computer, right? Computer, you see, you operate it. Krishna says, I am that operator. And you are just getting operated while sitting on a seat made up by the material energy. So what does it mean? Srila Prabhupada writes a beautiful purport. We'll refer to that. The living entity gets what he deserves. Because sometimes people think, oh, if Krishna is the doer, then why am I to be held responsible what happens in my life and for my actions? No, that's not the point. Of course, the subject matter have been discussed twice. One is the 5th chapter and then in the 13th chapter. But Krishna again brings out the point. So we are just briefly elaborating it by quoting Prabhupada's beautiful purport. Prabhupada writes, the living entity gets what it deserves and is carried by material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the super soul. The body is provided by the material energy. The ingredients are provided by the material energy. And who dictates the material energy is super soul. So some mother and father say, no, I am responsible for the birth. I created this body, but I just wanted to reflect for a second. So many times the husband and wife or the couple, they try to procreate. And many times they're unsuccessful in procreating. They have to wait for long years, and then they're only dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Yes or no? It is not that every time male and female unite, the procreation the procreation would happen, the child would be born. For some could be possible, for not everyone. So that's the point here. Who gives the body? Who dictates the material energy to create the body is Paramatma or the Supreme Lord. Because the mother may be holding the body of a child in the womb, but the mother has no role to play in the creation of the body. The parents are into so much ignorance that they don't even know who is inside the body. Only one thing they know, hopefully, is a human being. No hybrid item will come out of the womb of the mother. Well, anything is possible depending on what's going on in the Chinese labs. God knows what happens next. Okay, so that's the point here. So one thing only they know, that there is a human being, but it's a male, female, or a mixed gender, nobody knows. So the mother cannot take credit for that. Similarly for the father. A person seated in a high-speed motor car, Prabhupada gives an example, goes faster than one seated on a Luna. Let's say Mercedes-Benz versus Luna. Though the living entities, the drivers, may be the same, which means if today I'm driving the Mercedes-Benz on the highway, Pune-Bombay highway, I may drive at the speed of 120 kilometers, but the same driver, while sitting on a Luna, I can only drive at the speed of 30 kilometers per hour, maybe 40 kilometers per hour, maybe, but that's not possible. So what depends on? The vehicle. Prabhupada says, similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of a body to a particular living entity so that he may work according to his past desires. Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Not that verse, but the next verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tayajate ante kalevaram. If some dies thinking of a dog, the material nature happily would give him a body of a dog. And when somebody gets into the body of a dog, he has to bark. You cannot expect him to speak English, French, Hindi, Spanish, Tamil, Telugu, whatnot. He's to bark. He has to lick his tail. He has to run behind here and there. So the body that one gets is provided by the material nature, but it depended on one's desires and one's activity. The living entity, Prabhupada says, is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender. And that is the injunction of the next verse. So somebody may wonder, is Krishna a little fanatic? Surrender, surrender, surrender. Again and again, Krishna is saying surrender, surrender. No, Krishna is not fanatic. Because now Krishna says something very interesting, very, very important verse. Krishna says to Arjuna, Iti te jnanam akhyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimshetad asheshena yat ichhasi tatha kuru. Yat ichhasi tatha kuru. Arjuna, whatever I had to teach you, I've taught you everything. Now do whatever you want to do as you wish. In other words, Krishna is giving every living entity the independence, the free will to choose, to make a decision. And Krishna describes the function of free will in three ways in this verse. First, Arjuna, all the knowledge that I had to give you, I have given it to you. And now Krishna says, Arjuna, I want you to think on what I have spoken to you. Similarly, Krishna is inviting all of us to study Bhagavad Gita and to think, to surrender to Krishna or not. And finally, Krishna says, do what you want to do. Make a decision. Ultimately, you are held responsible for your life. So this is how Krishna concludes here. So question comes, if that is what the point, then Bhagavad Gita should end, because Bhagavad Krishna have concluded his teachings. Yes or no? This is a concluding verse. Krishna concluded, Arjuna, you make a choice. You decide what you want to do. Yet Bhagavad Gita is not concluded. Krishna continues to speak further. And Krishna says, or reveals the supreme instruction. Why Krishna speaks ahead is just Krishna's compassion for Arjuna. And I would say more than Arjuna, for all of us. Because by now, not only now, in the 10th chapter only Arjuna said, I accept you, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. I accept you as a Supreme Personality of God. For him not to follow the instruction of the Supreme Lord is not possible. But Krishna continues to speak. Even if a living entity is still not convinced, let me just tell him once more the very, very vital and important instruction. And what is that? Krishna reveals the essence of the final instructions of Bhagavad Gita. First, how to surrender? Krishna explains, Man bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskaru mame vaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. This is one of the rare verses in Bhagavad Gita which is repeated. Earlier it's been repeated in 9th chapter or quoted in 9th chapter. Now Krishna repeats it again. Krishna says, always think of me. Become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport. How do I surrender? Prabhupada says, very easy. The most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one would always have the chance to think of Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada gave us that lifestyle. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. But Arjuna thinks, my dear Lord, but I'm not yet ready to surrender. I have so many responsibility. I am Kshatriya. I have to do this. I have to do that. And then Krishna gives the final verdict. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasishyami ma suchaha. Huh? Okay. Sarvadharman parityajarjuna, abandon all religious activities, all dharma, any and every kind of engagement that you think is important for you. Only one thing is important for you, that is Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. In this way, every living entity in this world, I'm referring to human beings, being atheist, agnostics, or the theists, everyone follows the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Those who are theists, among theists, those who are devotees of the Lord, they follow this verse in entirety, and particularly Ma Mekam Sharanam Vraja, they fully surrender to the Lord. And those who are not devotees of the Lord, those who are agnostics, or I would say those who are atheists, those who do not believe in the Lord, they follow the first line with full confidence. Sarva Dharman Parityaja, abandon all religion. And that's the reason they write so many articles against religious practices. They don't believe in religion, and they take this kind of an instruction from this particular verse. And we see many, many examples. Lord Shri Krishna, somebody takes his shelter, protects, like Sandipani Muni. At the end of the teaching of Krishna and Balaram, Sandipani Muni said, I would like my son to be back. Krishna and Balaram went to Yamraj. Yamraj said, my dear Lord, the son have performed sinful activity in the past. As a result, he is supposed to suffer. Krishna says, don't worry. Whatever sinful karma account he has, write it to my account. I will take care of him. I want the son back. I want to take him back to Sandipani Muni. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared in this world, he cleaned off all the sinful karmic account of Jagai and Madai once Jagai Madai received the mercy of Nityanand Prabhu. And when Jagai Madai took shelter of Nityanand Prabhu, through him took shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately, Aham Tvam Sarva Pape Bhyo, Lord Shri Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eradicated or freed them of all their sinful activities and reactions. In essence, or in conclusion, Krishna here has concluded or completed speaking Bhagavad Gita. What should be done with the jewels of transcendental knowledge just spoken by Krishna is a question now. Because Krishna, whatever Krishna has to give, the knowledge has given. But what can we do with these jewels of wisdom that Krishna has given? Should they be kept secretly or distributed widely? If they should be distributed, is there any qualification of the receiver? What result comes to one who hears or studies or preaches the message of Bhagavad Gita? Brings us to the last subject matter of this chapter, where E stands for end result. Krishna speaks about the eligibility in verse number 67. Krishna says, who is eligible to hear or study Bhagavad Gita? One who is austere, who is willing to perform tapasya. One who is devoted, has faith in me. Third, who is engaged in some service unto me. So all of you have studied the whole Bhagavad Gita, attended the whole Bhagavad Gita course, have developed some faith. Now the question for you to ask is, what service can I render for the Lord? And the foremost service is, as is explained by Srila Rupa Goswami, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavit Grayam Indriye Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivvado Swayameva Spuratyada. The service should start with jiva, engaging the tongue. Engage the tongue in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All of you, I would sincerely request and encourage to take the chanting of the holy name of the Lord as a daily routine and a practice in your life. And the second meaning of this Swayam Eva, the Jivaha, engaging the tongue, is to honor Krishna Prasadam. Try to offer whatever you cook, vegetarian diet, quote unquote, to the Lord, and then honor it as Krishna's mercy or Krishna's prasadam. That is how you can begin. And if you have time and if you have inclination, You can engage in preaching activity where you can share the message of Krishna. The Diwali is about to come, right? Yeah, Diwali is next week. You can gift copy of Bhagavad Gita. You can share these videos of Bhagavad Gita with them. You can encourage them to hear. You can encourage them to solve the quizzes. It's a whole systematic course. You can invite them for the upcoming programs, which will again have on the occasion of Gita Jayanti in the language of Hindi on Bhagavad Gita. So there are different ways you can serve. Idea is share the Krishna consciousness with others, and also practice the teachings in your life by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And the fourth, one should be non-envious of the Lord. So next Krishna says, what is the importance of one who preaches the message of Bhagavad Gita? Very important, and I just shared with all of you. If you have the opportunity to speak Krishna consciousness, whatever you have heard. If not, share the messages which are shared on the WhatsApp or the recordings, or invite people for the program where Bhagavad Gita is taught. Many ways we can engage in preaching, and Krishna says, what is the result of those who engages themselves in the act of sharing Krishna consciousness or the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? First, devotional service is guaranteed. Second, at the end of this life, they'll go back to Godhead. And third, Krishna says, such a person is dearmost to me. Who is dearmost? One who facilitates the preaching or the sharing of the message of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna further, it's like Falashruti is going on here, where Krishna says, what happens to the audience who hear the message of Bhagavad Gita, and what happens to the speaker who gives the message of Bhagavad Gita? Krishna speaks about both the subject matter in verse number 70, where Krishna says, the one who speaks the message of Bhagavad Gita, he worships Krishna with his intelligence, because intelligence becomes Krishna-centric. And those Shrota who hears the message of Bhagavad Gita, they become free from sinful reactions and they advance spiritually. Of course, this is the advantage for the speaker also, but particularly for a listener, they become freed from their sinful reaction just by hearing Krishna Katha. And after this, Krishna looked at Arjuna and then said, so, are you convinced? Have you understood the message of Bhagavad Gita? Or let me put it this way in a practical sense. Are you willing to follow the teachings of Lord Shri Krishna? Are you willing to chant the holy names of the Lord? Are you willing to offer bhoga to the Lord or do some service to the Lord? Yes or no? I'm asking this question to all of you. Before Arjuna answered Krishna's question, I'm asking all of you, are you willing to share the message of Bhagavad Gita with others? Are you willing to gift a copy of Bhagavad Gita to others? Are you willing to forward this, whatever we have discussed, the recordings and message to others? Yes or no? Please write. That is what Krishna is trying to ask Arjuna. Arjuna, are you willing to follow? And what Arjuna said? Arjuna said, my dear Lord, now I am firmly fixed. And a very beautiful verse Arjuna says. Arjuna says, my dear Lord, I am free from all the doubts. Nashta moha smriti labdha tvat prasadan mayachyuta sthitosmi gata sandeha karshe vachanam tava. Aapke vachnon ke dwara, by hearing the words of wisdom from you, all my doubts have dispelled. I have become freed from illusion and ignorance. Tat prasadam ayachyuta, by your mercy, I have become fixed in my determination and I am willing to follow that whatever you tell me. So what are the fruits of Bhagavad Gita? What is the advantage of studying Bhagavad Gita? This is what is explained in this verse. Nashta moha, illusion, ignorance is destroyed. Smriti labdha, regaining one's memory. What is that memory? I am eternal part and parcel of the Lord. Sthitosmi gata sandeha, becoming firm and free from doubts. And karishye vachanam tava, I am willing to act according to your instructions. So I'm going to look at your feedback, whatever you type in. So do type in, are we willing to follow? Are we willing to commit to Krishna, to do some service to the Lord? So knowledge and understanding of Bhagavad Gita is dependent upon one's consciousness. Only one who approaches the sacred teachings with proper mood and lifestyle will be able to fully comprehend and understand the deep and profound meanings of these words of wisdom spoken in Bhagavad Gita. By hearing and studying this conversation with such favorable temperament, one perceives the spiritual dimension as tangible reality, and his life becomes exciting and wondrous at every step. Thus, to share this wisdom with society at large, once again, thus to share this wisdom with society at large becomes the fundamental right of every living entity, or I would say, fundamental duty of everyone. We should share the gifts that we have received with others to help others also. And coming to the last few verses, where now, after this, Sanjaya speaks. Now, Krishna and Arjuna have started speaking, and now Sanjaya glorifies both Krishna and Arjuna. And he's thrilled by having heard this nectarian message of Bhagavad Gita by the mercy of his Guru Vyasadev, who he honors and glorifies in this remaining verses of Bhagavad Gita. And finally, Sanjaya gives his verdict. Dhritarashtra asked, Sanjaya, what do you think? What will happen next? And Sanjaya said, old man, old man, what's going to happen? This is going to happen. Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Four things happen wherever Krishna and Arjuna are present. Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhute Dhruvo Nitir Matir Mama. What are the four things? Opulence, Shri Vijayo, victory. Bhutir, extraordinary power. And Nitir, which means Niti, which means morality. Wherever Krishna and Arjuna are present, opulence, extraordinary power, morality, and victory would always be there. And like this, Sanjaya concludes speaking. This is the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Here in this verse, Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, the Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra, wherein he was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by the great generals. But after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjaya told the king, you're thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune. In other words, Sanjaya directly confirms Dhritarashtra, you are doomed, and the life of all your sons and all the warriors at the side of Kauravas are doomed. Nobody will win the war when they fight against Krishna and Arjuna. Thus, in this way, we come to the conclusion of this most sacred text, the rarest of the rare, wherein we have the direct instructions of the Lord. There is no other scripture where we have direct words spoken by the Lord. Such is the beauty of this very important literature. Bhagavad Gita is not like an ordinary book by some mundane author. It is the Lord's own potency of knowledge by which Krishna enlightens the fallen souls. One who studies the Gita, therefore, experiences direct association with the Lord, and one who hears properly becomes Krishna conscious. He can see Krishna in all things, therefore his life becomes exciting and wondrous at every step. And with this, we come to the conclusion of the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna systematically outlines various spiritual truths. And finally, in this chapter, Krishna offers his Paramam Vachaha, his supreme advice, and that is one should take to Bhakti Yoga, the most essential spiritual practice which Krishna outlines in every single chapter, beginning from chapter 2, because from there Krishna begins to speak. Thus, everyone is offered an opportunity of permanent happiness and fulfillment of the achievement of fulfillment, opportunity of happiness and fulfillment by the achievement of Krishna consciousness. In such consciousness, an individual can smile in the face of all situations and circumstances. Why? Because now the person is confident that the smiling Krishna is his constant companion and eternal friend. With this, we thank you all sincerely for joining us for this around 21 sessions of Bhagavad Gita spread over 3 months. And with this, we come to the conclusion of this wonderful book, the Transcendental Literature. And tomorrow we'll be meeting again for the actual topic, where you have been just offered a starter, but the main course will be served tomorrow with a very interesting discussion by one of the illustrious speaker, His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu, on a topic of do your best and leave the rest. And with that, I will end here. Thank you. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. I know it's late. Some of you, all of you might be probably late for some other responsibilities. But before we conclude for today, if anyone has any questions or any comments or feedbacks, if they would like to share, so I'm available here and we can interact for a short while. Actually, I should have planned for doing Damodar Ashtakam. We didn't do that. Maybe for tomorrow's session, after tomorrow's session ends, we'll conclude our session with a Kirtan. In case if Radheshyam Prabhu doesn't do it, we'll do a Kirtan. But because somehow I didn't plan it. So any concluding questions, any comments, or any feedbacks for us for improvement? And how many of you will be interested to join us for the next weekend program? We're going to start and announce soon. Do let us know, yes or no. And any suggestions? I would request the host to share the links of the feedback you have shared on the, you can share again on the group right now. So you can fill out that feedback form wherein you can leave a comment of improvement or any suggestions or any positive experience through this course. And also let us know what would be your advice for us or suggestions for us. What should be the next subject matter for us to begin with? Our next program would be 1 month long study of Bhagavad Gita, wherein we'll be discussing 2 courses of Bhagavad Gita. First, and this will be in Hindi language, title as Gita Ka Rahasya, and second subject matter, the Gita Ka Rahasya will be 10 days long. We'll be discussing about the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, and after that we'll start the 21 days Gita Sar, जो मैंने आपके लिए आप लोगों के लिए 3 महीने में करा over weekends. We'll do it every day starting from 21st November and concluding that on 25th December. So those of you who have joined this program for the first time, I would strongly recommend at least to attend Gita Ka Rahasya, the 5 subject matters, and Gita Sar, Gita Essence, so you all have heard. But in case still if there are doubts and confusions, maybe I was a little quick, maybe the language was not so clear, it would be worthwhile to attend that course, but that would be in Hindi. So with that, I pause here. Hopefully all of you have the feedback form for you to fill out. And of course, 17 quizzes have been released. Chapter 18 quiz is not released. I would be releasing either today night or tomorrow. And you have a couple more days, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, we'll keep it as a deadline to close the quizzes for this particular batch. And maybe in a week's time, we are also launching a website where you will have access to all these courses, other courses like overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, and other things that we have done. For every course, we generally design quizzes and the presentation. So you'll have a one-stop place where you can go, or one destination from where you can download and access everything. Right now, you have a quiz on the Google form, videos on YouTube. Then you have to come here, receive the message on WhatsApp. We're trying to combine everything through a website, which will be launched shortly. So Hare Krishna. Any concluding points, anything anyone wants to share? I believe you all have the right to unmute yourself. Here, I stop speaking. And can I request everyone to switch on your cameras? So you'll get to see who all are there here. Who all survived
Hare Krishna.
the whole of Bhagavad Gita. So you all need a big round of applause for surviving through or living through this whole 21 sessions spread over 3 months. So please give all of you a big round of applause.
Prabhuji, hi. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji,
In
this
today's
is...
day and time, to take out time is not that easy. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Somebody was saying something?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, this is Priyanka from Hyderabad. I just
I don't
wanted
see
to...
you, some. Are you visible?
No, the video is not working. I'll try to
Fine.
make sure
That's
that
all
it
right.
works tomorrow. But from the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank you and the entire team. This is the best thing I have learned in the entire pandemic. I've never thought that I will learn Bhagavad Gita. Mom always teaches me, but I think it needed a guru like you to learn more. So thank you. Mom and I both have been learning through you a lot. We both thank you a lot from the bottom of our heart for taking us through the classes. It's not easy. Technology, connecting people and all, it's definitely not easy, and that too through different cities. So thank you for everything that you have done, and it really helped us out a lot. We're becoming a lot better person day on day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All credit and all glories to Srila Prabhupada, who created this forum for all of us to get in touch by dedicating his life in spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita. And that's how we have ISKCON all over the world today. So it's not my anything doing. I'm doing what I've been asked to do by my seniors, where the actual person who receives all the credit are my seniors who asked me to conduct these courses. His Grace Radheshyam, Temple President, who inspired me to do this. And of course, my spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, who is the beacon of light and ray of hope in our life. And also Srila Prabhupada, who is a prominent Shiksha Guru for all the time to come, because we read his books, we hear his lectures, and try to bring it out to all of you according to time, place, and circumstances. Thank you so much, Priyanka-ji, and do let us know, this is for all of you, how to stay in touch, how to stay connected. Of course, looks like we'll continue with our online activities, although we are opening our center from the coming week. But as some of you had requested, we'll continue with our online events. We'll not stop that. But you can still let us know how we can stay connected. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Anyone?
Yes, Prabhuji, I would like to talk. I am Beena Jain from Kanpur. Can you hear me?
Yes, Meena ji, I can hear
Yeah.
you. I read every of your comment that you leave behind on the quiz.
Yeah, but thanks a lot. You made the whole thing very, very clear to us. And I just wanted to request something. Like, I would like to do the devotional service on a daily basis. So I want a guidance from you. I mean, understanding Gita is one thing, and applying it practically in our life is something very different. And we require really a guru to guide us and tell us how should we do the daily devotional practice. And secondly, I would very much appreciate if we have some program where we can partake in kirtan on a regular basis, because I believe that is one of the very important aspects of
Kirtan, right?
yeah, kirtan also, where we have a devotional
Kirtan,
songs.
yeah. We do that regularly. Here in Ninjawadi, we have a Kirtan festival once in a month. And in this lockdown period, we are doing our first Kirtan Sandhya program on the coming Friday. So I would check with our team.
Will it be on Zoom for us to partake in it?
I will check with our team if they are able to facilitate it. And if that helps you or that allows us to serve you in some way, then we can go on live stream and we can make it live stream also. It's a Kirtan, there will be Nati, there will be a lot of things. So it'll be interesting to have a first online Kirtan Sandhya. We will try to do that. We'll try to do that. And coming to your first question regarding practical service. So as I said, the service begins with chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Please take to that. You have just heard of Bhagavad Gita, so make reading a habit in your life. Please read the book or else rehear it, because Bhagavad Gita is such, with my experience of almost 1.5 decades of studying and hearing and sharing about Bhagavad Gita, is every time I open and read it, there is some newer nuances and understanding out of it.
Yes, that is
In the
true.
in the first
That is
two
very
readings,
true.
we try to get something out of it, but later on, when we are continuing with our devotional practice, where we are following the regular principle, chanting the holy names of the Lord, offering to the Lord bhoga, some service like that, and then then when we read Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna reveals what I'm supposed to do in my current scenario, current situation.
Right.
And then the message of Bhagavad Gita becomes very personal. It's like a one-on-one talk, where Arjuna, or the role of Arjuna is replaced by Mother Bina, where a talk happens between Mother Bina and Krishna. And like that, you have to allow the message of Bhagavad Gita revealed to yourself. And Krishna says to whom it reveals. 4 things. One has to be austere. We just saw that.
Yes.
Who can understand
You
the message?
yeah.
Devoted, engaged in devotional service. And the 4th, non-envious. And how do we become all these 4? As I said, take to the process of chanting of the holy names, whatever allows you to render devotional service. Like you are in Kanpur. Kanpur, we have a wonderful temple. When lockdown opens, I can connect you with our temple community there.
I have already spoken to some Prabhuji who's going there from my area because it is pretty far away from my place. And communication and transport is very difficult here in Kanpur. We don't have that much of, good system as you have in Pune.
Before lockdown, I was there in Kanpur for a whole 1 month.
Yeah,
so I
they
saw
know
that,
you because I believe the person I contacted, he was aware, he knows you personally. He did talk about you.
But in case if that need arises when lockdown opens, we can even find out there could be some local programs may happen. Maybe now the lockdown. So we'll help you because the temple is there. There are a lot of ways of,
But
anyways,
I wish they could, have some sort of minibus taking the people who are, inspired to go out there. So many of us could, we could be on a regular basis go there because commuting to that place is very difficult. It is slightly at the remote end of Kanpur.
Yeah, it's on the outskirts. Correct. I agree with that.
Right.
Fine. Until that happens, we'll continue our journey on this online yatra.
That I'm doing.
We will have that.
And I believe that you had given us a fair idea, but still, a more extensive study of Gita is required on one-to-one shloka.
Those who want extensive study, we already have a program called as Gita Live. So once we launch a website, we'll again launch that program where the recordings, presentation, and quizzes are all available, where a person can do a self-study. And then we'll have a weekly question-answer forums, or we'll also have an opportunity for you wherein you have a doubt, you can drop a question. We'll be also creating a facility of online mentors, wherein different devotees who have studied Bhagavad Gita well, they can respond to your queries and guide you. So once the website comes, it will facilitate such queries better. We'll keep you posted on that. All right.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. There are 32 people. Why there are only few people up on the screen? Maybe people are shy or something?
No, Prabhuji, Sumita here from Bhopal.
Oh, Hare Krishna. I guess we're speaking for the first time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Your session is very wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. So you attended the whole program?
Yeah, but sometimes missing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the recordings are there, but at least good. Something could work
actually,
out.
I understand, but बहुत सी चीजें नहीं समझ पाई हूँ मैं अभी. Actually, first time I am attended the Bhagavad Gita.
So here is my request to those who attended this program for the first time. Please join us for the Hindi Bhagavad Gita.
Yes,
आपको चीजें और clear
Prabhuji,
होंगी. That will really help you to understand more.
बहुत सी चीजें मुझे नहीं समझ में आई है अभी भी, तो इसलिए मैं क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछती हूँ कुछ भी.
Correct. So hopefully maybe when you hear it again, probably in Hindi next time, it will make it better.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I guess we should conclude now, and we'll meet again tomorrow, and Radheshyam Prabhu will address. And next weekend is Diwali. So you'll have a Diwali break. I mean, we don't have a program next weekend, but Friday we'll have a Kirtan Sandhya, and we'll try our best to facilitate online. And let's see if all of you can, some of you who wants to join can join in for that online event. And after Diwali, we'll announce, as I've already announced, we'll share that. So my request is, please, when you get that announcement of the program, do share, spread the word around. Everyone have friends and family members. So do share the gift that we have received with others by forwarding those invitations for the program, because it helps. As Krishna said, Nashtamoha, Arjuna said, the gifts of Bhagavad Gita is all my ignorance is destroyed. I become firm and fixed in my knowledge and in my duty. That's the point. Thank you. Should I take leave now?
Yes.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.